All right, today we're diving into one of the most mysterious and, let's be honest, terrifying books of the ancient world. We're going to unpack a single powerful vision, an apocalyptic army of fiery horsemen. So the vision John lays out, it's just stunning. He talks about seeing these horses with heads like lions, and out of their mouths, a torrent of fire, smoke, and brimstone. I mean, that's an image designed to create some serious awe and terror. So, what's the deal with all this? Fire, smoke, brimstone? What does it all mean? Let's break down the apocalyptic imagery of these, frankly, supernatural creatures. You've got this destructive trio, this trinity of plagues coming right out of the horses' mouths: fire, smoke, and brimstone. And together, the text tells us, these three things are responsible for killing a third of all mankind. But here's the thing. This kind of imagery doesn't just come out of nowhere. The author is tapping into a really deep well of ancient symbolism. You have the monster Leviathan in the book of Job breathing fire and smoke, and the whole idea of judgment by fire and brimstone, that's basically a direct shout out to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, so the what is terrifying enough, but it's the how many that's just mind-boggling. It's the sheer scale of this thing. The text gives a surprisingly specific number for this army: 200 million. Just think about that for a second. To an audience in the first century, that number is, well, it's basically incomprehensible. Which, of course, leads to the big question. Are we supposed to take that number literally? Like an actual army of 200 million demonic horsemen? Well, the key is probably in the original Greek. The term used is 2 myriad of myriad. Now, a myriad was the biggest number they had a name for, 10,000. So saying myriad of myriad was kind of like us saying zillions. It wasn't meant to be a literal head count. It was a way of saying the army was overwhelmingly, symbolically, uncountably huge. All right, so we've talked about the symbolism, but what if this isn't just symbolic? Let's switch gears and look at a very real, very concrete historical event that a lot of scholars think this vision is actually describing. And that event? The absolutely brutal siege and destruction of Jerusalem by the Roman army back in 70 AD. The theory is that this vision isn't about some far-off future, but a vivid description of that very real apocalypse. And we have an eyewitness account from the historian Josephus that is just chillin'. He talks about soldiers setting houses on fire, the city running with so much blood that it actually put out some of the fires. When you put that next to Revelation's description of death by fire, man, the parallels are just uncanny. And it doesn't stop there. The smoke, obviously, would have come from the city as it burned. But the brimstone? Some people think this could be a way to describe the absolute terror of Roman siege weapons. Imagine giant rocks being hurled by catapults. It would feel like a deadly plague raining down from the heavens. So whether you see this as symbolic or historical, the devastation is just massive. But the vision isn't over. It then turns to the people who survived all this, and it explores how they reacted to the catastrophe. A third of mankind was wiped out by these plagues. That's a staggering loss. So you have to wonder, what about the survivors? Did this kind of unimaginable horror snap them out of it? Did it lead to some kind of spiritual awakening? And the answer the text gives is a flat-out no. It's pretty shocking, really. Despite all that death and destruction, the survivors, they didn't change their ways. And the author is super specific here. It says they didn't repent of worshiping idols, or their murders, their sorceries, their fornication, and their thefts. It's like even this unbelievably catastrophic event couldn't get them to change. And that right there, that brings us to our final section. Because this ancient problem, this question of how people react to huge disasters, it's not ancient at all. It's timeless. Just look at this. 70 AD, the siege of Jerusalem. The survivors were told, don't repent. Now, jump forward almost 2,000 years. After World War II and the Holocaust, what happens? A massive crisis of faith erupts, causing so many to question everything. The core problem, the suffering, it's still right there. This gets us to a classic philosophical puzzle, often called the problem of evil. It's like a logical contradiction. You have three ideas on the table. God is all-powerful, God is all-loving, and yet there's suffering in the world. And for a lot of people, all three of those things can't be true at the same time. Something's gotta give.
And so that leaves us with this final haunting question. It's a question that echoes all the way from John's vision on that lonely island to the battlefields of the 20th century and right into our world today. In the face of overwhelming destruction, we're forced to ask, where was God? And where were we? It's a question that really challenges us to make sense of suffering and our own response to it.